We'll take a look at the rest of the Big 12. Besides Oklahoma playing at Minnesota outside of the league, and they are on a Friday, Saturday, Sunday schedule. Kansas and West Virginia up in Morgantown, they're also playing Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Everybody else is playing the Thursday, Friday, Saturday, get done by Easter Sunday routine. As mentioned, Toby Rowland up in Minnesota going to join us, the voice of the Sooners, and we're double dipping. We had Chris Plank on for a little bit, so now Toby has the opportunity to come on here and correct everything that Chris Plank got wrong.
I don't know how long you
And,
have. I don't know if I can do all that.
yeah, and yeah. All right, that's great because now if you go back to Chris and say, guess what Robert opened, how he opened our interview, I can come back and say, well, guess how Toby responded. I don't have enough time to get all the things Chris Plank gets wrong corrected.
No, there's
So
nothing
hey,
left for me to
touche.
say. If you had Plank on, he said it all, I'm sure.
Let's hit the offensive side and Jalen Hurts. There was so much curiosity to see what he would do, and I know, and this is the way I broached it with Chris as well, Toby. I know Lincoln Riley likes to talk about these quarterback competitions, but after what I saw last year, all season long, and especially in front of my face on Bedlam Saturday in Norman, I have a real hard time thinking that Austin Kendall was really in the mix with Kyler Murray. And I'm having a hard time after watching that spring game last Saturday to think anybody other than Jalen Hurts will open up at quarterback for Oklahoma when they play Houston.
I think you're probably right. I think there's a 5, 98, 99% chance that you're right. He certainly makes a lot of sense. He's the more experienced quarterback, maybe more experienced than anybody in the country. He looked great in the spring game. Tanner Mordecai didn't look great in the spring game. I think the one thing that could prevent Lincoln from naming a starter before fall is simply Spencer Rattler, the 5-star that's coming in. Just not that it's likely Rattler's going to beat out Hurts, but I'm not sure that Lincoln can name Hurts starter in the summer and in good faith tell Spencer Rattler, sorry, we're not even giving you a shot to show us what you got. This guy's our starter. So my guess is that, Rattler's not necessarily coming in with the intention of sitting a year, although that's likely what he's going to have to do. So I would imagine they'll at least stretch this into camp for a couple of weeks and see what Spencer's all about, and then we'll probably hear that it's Jalen Hurts that's the starter, but we'll see. I mean, you're right about Kyler, and it certainly looks like Jalen was awesome. I mean, he looked composed. He looked mature. He threw the ball well. He looked like an old man out there, like it was no big deal to him. So I think he's probably going to be the guy.
And I can, and this as well, being in a position you've been in for a long time. Obviously, when a freshman hotshot quarterback comes in and sits, it's hard on them. It's always hard on a kid to redshirt. Nobody likes to hit the stop button. But that redshirt year, if you use it right, can certainly be very beneficial. But those redshirt years with hotshot freshmen are also hard on the broadcasters and the people that cover the team because I can't. If I had a dime for every time somebody asked me when are we going to see Spencer Sanders, I would be.
You'd be rich.
I'd be a rich man. Oh yeah, I'd be. I mean, Chase would be chasing me for a deposit.
Well, I think
Okay,
there's a lot to be said about.
yeah,
Baker had to sit for a year and learn, and it really
sure.
paid off. Kyler sat behind him and watched, and it paid off. So I think the best formula here for Oklahoma is Jalen Hurts comes in, plays great this year. Spencer Rattler gets to watch him and learn, gets a year of the system under his belt, and then they turn the reins over to him next year. But we'll see. I'm sure that's what Clemson had in mind last year too. And Trevor Lawrence was just too good to keep off the field. So I don't know how good Spencer Rattler is, but I think they're going to give him a shot to prove himself.
Looking at the supporting cast, I was impressed with the young receivers, what we saw of them. A lot of talk about them coming out of recruiting, how talented the receiver core was that Lincoln Riley and his staff recruited. know that OU will have the they have the backs that can perform in this offense. And maybe the biggest question will be with Bill Beatonbaugh, but he's a guy now that's earned that reputation and respect, including from folks outside of his camp, including myself, that I have no doubt he'll put together a good offensive line.
Yeah, I think you're right. That's the overwhelming question mark on the offensive side of the ball. 4 of 5 new starters there, both tackles, both guards. Creed Humphrey was a star as a freshman last year, so you feel good about him at center. But when you're replacing 80% of your offensive line, it's huge. The skill positions there as loaded as they've been in a long, long time. I mean, they got 2 big-time running backs and a couple of more guys behind them that I think are pretty good. The number of pass catchers that they have, I have no idea how they're going to keep everybody happy. I mean, it's a great dilemma. But the 3 5-star wide receivers, the tight end Stogner, you throw that on top of CeeDee Lamb, Grant Calcaterra, Lee Morris, Charleston Rambo, Nick Basquin. I mean, they've got guys running out their ears. So I think the whole thing boils down to, can they block them up? And I'm with you. I think if there's one guy other than Lincoln on this coaching staff that has earned the reputation of, we just got faith you're going to figure it out, it's Bill Beatonbaugh. So I don't know who those names are. I think after the spring game, you got a little bit of an insight as to some of the guys that are leading in the race to become the starters on the O-line. But we'll see. They got some more talent coming in the fall. And I think in the end they'll be good. It might be rough early. It certainly might not look like it did on the offensive line the last couple of years early. But probably by the time we get to that Texas game and late in the season, they'll be pretty good.
Yeah, last thing, I said this to Chris as well. I've got a familiarity with Alex Grinch through my son's sent some players to him in the past at Washington State, and in fact, I told my wife this the other day. I said, for the first time that I can ever remember, there'll be an Allen in our family whose name will probably appear in an OU media guide. And my wife looked at me and said, "What are you talking about?" And I said, "Well, in those bios, they usually put with players coached by," and I said, "LaRon Stokes is going to get coached by head coach Zach Allen at NEO, so get ready for that." And she goes, "Oh, I didn't even think of that." I said, "Well, it's okay. It's a compliment." And by the way, I think LaRon will be a good hand for you guys. But
He's been
again,
very
the
impressive.
the defense will be a work in progress.
Well, there's no doubt about that. I mean, that's what's kept him from maybe winning a national championship the last couple of years. Certainly getting a step closer. So Alex Grinch has the spotlight on him. I think that it has been fun to listen to him talk, how completely bluntly honest he is about, some of the lack of talent or lack of depth that he's dealing with right now. And I think that it's going to be fascinating to watch this year. His enthusiasm and the enthusiasm of Roy Manning, Brian Odom, who they have brought in as well, it's got players and fans fired up. And I think they're going to do a good job, but you know how it is. I mean, you gotta produce. So they want to turn the ball over a bunch more than they did in the past, and they need to. They want that defensive scoring numbers to go down, and they need to. But that's going to be the focus of the fans. I don't care who's playing quarterback and what we do on the offensive line. Lincoln's going to score some points. I mean, it's going to happen. But can they stop anybody? And the last couple of years, that's been a major issue for this team. So we'll find out. And I think LaRon Stokes has a good chance to be a starter on the defensive line. He has been very, very impressive so far.
Yeah, he's a great kid. I got to know him when he was playing for Zach up there. They pulled him out as a homeschool kid in Tulsa, and he was pretty raw. But I actually saw him at the NEO scrimmage last Saturday. I went up and he actually was there. Came in off the spring game the night before and congratulated him because I saw his sack, and he's fired up. He's excited. He's a kid that grew up an OU fan, and I know OSU recruited him aggressively, but Yeah, he can. He was predisposed, and I wish him the best. He is a great kid. You'll enjoy him from an interview standpoint and getting to know him. So,
Good.
um, hey, again, enjoy. What's the weather like up there in Minneapolis?
It's gorgeous, Robert. We got a break.
Okay.
There was 6 inches of snow on the ground last weekend. Today it's mid 60s. Tomorrow it's supposed to be in the 70s, and we're playing at Target Field tomorrow. That'll be a lot of fun, where the
Oh,
Minnesota Twins
cool.
play. So I think we've gotten a very fortunate break in April in Minneapolis that the weather's cooperated. It's much nicer here than a whole lot of home series we played this year.
That's a good deal. And that's a great town. So enjoy yourself up there. And again, happy Easter weekend. And hope everything's good with your family. And we'll look forward to talking to you again down the line. Toby,
We need
thanks.
the Thank you. We need the Cowboys to loan us some of those runs they used on Texas last night. That was impressive. We're having a hard
Hey,
time
after
scoring right now.
last after last weekend in Lawrence, they need to learn to distribute those a little more equally through the weekend. And hopefully they'll do that this weekend. They'll come up with some more, but they didn't have enough after the 27 last Friday in Lawrence. So hopefully that'll
That's true.
change this weekend.
Hey, it's always fun to talk to you, Robert. Thanks, buddy.